Hey everyone, just sit tight while we set everything up for the talk. I'm also posting some guidelines to follow in all our events. Hi Samira, there's a button on there to share your video and audio. Hi.
Hello, hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. So let me just go over the guidelines here. So just be respectful in the chat, and please don't request to share your video and audio if you're a member of the audience, because it's very distracting when someone's trying to talk, unless the speaker invites you to do so. So Samira, if you can take maybe a couple moments, introduce yourself, and I'll be here and turn off my video in case you need anything.
Mm-hmm. Hello, hi. So my name is Samira, and I own the food blog alphafoodie.com. I think this is a very casual session, right? I haven't prepared any slides or anything.
You can make it whatever you want it to be. You can also invite people to, if you want to, have a conversation with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe I can give a little introduction of little brief few minutes introduction of how I started this whole thing, and then we can make it an open discussion. And for anyone who wants questions or anything, I'm happy to share whatever. I would love to help with whatever I can. That's the thing. So I am a scientist. This is I haven't prepared anything, so this is gonna be very. So I have a PhD in engineering science. So I came to Oxford and I studied in Oxford, and I did research in brain science, and then it was before that aerospace engineering, and I did some few years of research in cancer research and then brain research anyway. So then I randomly started a blog as a hobby. It was actually me sharing some photos of breakfasts on my Facebook when the people were asking me, my friends on Facebook were saying, like, stop spamming us with food photos, like post them on Instagram. And then I had no idea what Instagram was. Like, that was like about 6 years ago. And then I didn't listen. But one day I said, okay, let's try. And then I did I started that, and some stuff was going viral, and very few months after that, like the blog, like the Instagram first took off a little bit with a few things that went viral. And I appeared on TV, and then Vogue wrote some articles just about the smoothie bowls that I was making. Has nothing to do with science or anything at that point. And then I continued doing my research, and that Instagram was just a hobby until like a couple of years ago, where I took it a bit more seriously. So then I continued doing research and full time until about 2 years ago. So I became part time because there were a lot of opportunities coming from the blogging. I mean, I do blogging because I enjoy it, and I do a lot of experiments with food, a lot of science experiments where we show how to make olive oil, how to make avocado oil, how to make chocolate from the bean, and so on. So it's just kind of like showing people more of like I did film on the microscope yesterday what happened to yeast when you put salt on it, and things like that. It's just fun things to bring to get people to understand things from a different perspective. So so yes, and then I started a blog, which that was like properly I started making recipes on it from last year, like March. But I mean, the blog is several years old, but I only started like using it a year ago, and decision. So what my advice is for anyone who has an idea is to actually start a blog, even if they don't have any followers. It has nothing to do with followers, and the blog doesn't have to be about food. It could be about like anything, like could be about just like absolutely anything. There's a niche in anything. Could be about, you know, DIYs, could be about science, could be about like anything. And you can easily turn the blog into a six-figure income. Obviously, money is not the main motive, but I mean, people these days, like, there's some, like, how do I say this? People complain about no jobs, but I think if you really have a hobby, you can make that hobby a job if you know how to address it. And this is how many blogs are. Some blogs make like $30,000, $40,000 a day. We're not taking a week or a month. Again, money shouldn't be the main motivation on this, but it is a good asset, and it's passive income. Yeah, but it's, of course, it has to be something someone has to enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, it will become not really. It become more like if you try to make it like a blog, just the intention is only to make money, it will become very. It's just gonna be hard. That's why I say, if you are passionate about a hobby, could be drawing, could be painting, could be like anything. I mean, I know one woman who started her blog when she was 58 years old, and that was a few years ago, and she's now like, she makes $7,000 a day from just her blog. And the blog is just, she doesn't have followers. It's just a blog where she puts things on Pinterest and so on. So the point is just, you know, experiment with things and have fun with it. You never know where it took me. Like, this blog gave me the most amazing opportunities, like from like just very diversified. Like, I collaborated with brands like Google, Facebook, like even like Fox Productions, and all these companies, they would try to reach you out because of the blog. And that has nothing to do with having followers. I mean, obviously having audience is good, but you can make a six-figure income blog with no followers, with 0 followers. Actually, some of the most leading blogs have no followers. It's just, what I'm saying is, you would if you're writing interesting content about any article, whether it's about sciencey article or, as I said, anything, any hobby will have a niche, and people will search it on Google. And when I say a blog, it's like you would make a blog. So when people search something on Google, you would hope that they will go to your page. And when they go to your page, the more click you get, that doesn't mean they're clicking on ads, but they're visiting the page. That is very valuable. And if you're providing a blog that is a bit giving a value, where showing people like, okay, I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to show you how to paint this. I'm going to show you how to make this recipe, and so on, like how to paint the wall, like showing them something really they're looking for. They're not interested in reading the story of your life, but they're interested more of, like, if I go on Google to see how I make something, I would really want the answer. I just don't want the whole blabbing. But if I visit a website where it's telling me, look, if you do it this way, it's not going to work, I find that really valuable. And Google measures these metrics. So if somebody comes to my website and stays literally a few seconds, that's not very good. But if they stayed like a minute, that's valuable, because Google start thinking, oh, maybe she has interesting information. So that's how Google measures. So the idea is, what I'm trying to say here is, whatever you decide to write on or something, if you decide to pursue that, make it a bit more valuable. So if it's adding value, and yeah, so that's in a nutshell how it is. But I still do science, I still do research, and I still do teaching, not because I enjoy it very much. I mean, again, the motive for blogging is not mainly the money, but you don't do science for the money anyway. I did a PhD because I enjoy teaching and I love the science and everything, and this is why I still do it, because I don't need the money from teaching or science projects, but it's something I love, and I dedicated a long time of my life to study it. So I wouldn't just put it in, but it's nice to have a side hobby that might turn to somewhere. And actually, I didn't decide to go part-time on research, going from full-time to part-time and dedicate a lot of my time to my blog, if I didn't know it is like at least a six-figure business or something like this, and it's something I enjoy. So if I'm pursuing something, I wouldn't quit. I never quitted a job before I secured another job, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And with a degree, like if you have a degree, you can always find a job, in my opinion. So I get a lot of people ask me like, oh, shall I start a blog and quit school? And that is, I think, the craziest question ever. You should never quit school, because like having followers or anything like that, it's good. It gives you a lot of opportunities, but no, like, you don't know when Facebook was shut down or anything's shut down. But to me, a website, a blog is a lot more valuable than just having 10 million followers. Having a lot of followers is really a lot of commitment, and it will give you the pressure that you always have to produce content and etc etc. But so that's why I say focus on, don't have like followers, okay, they're like maybe make someone feel good about themselves. That's not I'm not talking about myself. I never I'm talking I think what's
Refreshing
more
technique.
valuable, what's more important is having, like, providing a little bit a value. Like, that's why there are certain blogs where the people showing off, look at me and look at my holidays. That is awful. I don't like these type of things. So I don't think they provide a lot of value. And so this is why I say, if you're gonna pick a niche about anything, just try to see, is this gonna add some value? And if you think there are a million blogs like that, that's true, but you can make your own twist, because everyone, like, there are a million zillion recipes of pasta. Why is yours special? Just add a little, like, just make it your own. Just, you're not reinventing the wheel here, but always, obviously, if you come up with something new, it will go viral. You'll get featured here and there, and that will become fun. So yes, but don't be discouraged by saying, oh, this is one more blog. No, that's not how you think. If your blog is useful, and you always think, how can I make this article much more interesting than, if I'm writing about, like, okay, how to save money on socks, this is a random example, I would Google that, and I would read the first 3 top articles, and I would think, okay, because these are your competition. The idea is you want to be in the first page in Google. I always refer to Google because Google is the #1 source of income for blogs. You can get income from traffic coming from Pinterest or Instagram, but gag, nothing really compares to Google traffic. Google traffic is like gold, because, like, my traffic from Google is nearly 90%. I have 1 million followers on Instagram. Only 3 or 4% of them go to my website, just to give you an idea that the value you get from Google and a website is much more than value from, I'm very grateful for my followers. They're amazing and everything, and they give me a lot of insight and inspiration. But they don't pay my income,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I get a lot of paid collaborations with brands because of the followers, but I don't need all these brands because of the traffic from Google, which I think is much more valuable. So back to the last point where I said, if you're trying to write about like how to save money buying socks, you go read the first few articles and you see, can I make, you're not copying, pasting here. We're not doing plagiarism here.
Yeah.
But what you're going to think is, what are they doing? Why is this number one? How can I write this better? That's what you think. And if you think you can write it in a better way and provide a bit more value, and users start visiting you, then obviously you're gonna, like, you have a good chance to beat the algorithm and be on the first page of Google. So that is how you think about it. But yeah, so that is my insight. But anyway, always also keep experimenting with things. And if you have an idea or of a project or something hanging, I would say 100% take the risk and do it. I mean, if you're just gonna always be in the comfort zone, nothing happens in the comfort zone. Everything exciting always happens outside of the comfort zone. And so, yeah, things might fail, might not work, but I wouldn't think of it as fail. I would think of it as experiences. And, like, and this is what I say, it's just always take, try new things. Why not? You never know where it's gonna take you. Like, if you tell me 7, 8 years ago that I would be doing this now, I'd be like, what? Like, like experiment with things, and yeah,
Thank you so much.
that's what I have
I
to
have
say.
so many questions. I mean, I'm one of the followers that always clicks on your thing, so I have a lot of questions. And people in the chat, you can feel free to ask your questions on there or under the Q&A page. Okay, my first question is, where did you get the name Alpha Foodie from? So we get foodie, loving food, but did someone inspire you to get that name or something?
Not really. Actually, before, because I was like, it was called Alpha Breakfast because it was the main motivation behind everything was because I was going to work without breakfast every single day. And every day I tell the people in the office, hey guys, when you're going, when I go for lunch, it will be 11 o'clock and I'm asking them to go for lunch. So anyways, that's what was the thing is I was struggling to have breakfast, and then I was Googling what are easy, healthy breakfasts, and I was going through random recipes like chia seeds. I've never known what they were before, and quinoa, and I was like, what's that? So I was experimenting with these, and these were the pictures that I was sharing on Facebook, where like, because things look a bit weirder with chia pudding viscosity, and people were like, what are these? And I was like, I don't know. So um so that, because it all started with breakfast, and so I said, okay, this is gonna sound very I was like, okay, alpha has to be the best, I think in engineering we have a little bit thing of like thinking we are the best, but it's not necessarily true. So I would be like, okay, alpha, you have alpha male, alpha female. I was like, alpha breakfast, you have to have the best breakfast. And so that's why it was called alpha breakfast. But then you have to think, when you start a blog or some social media or something, you really need to, like, now in hindsight, I think you have to be from the beginning a little bit thoughtful about the name you decide. And I think it was very, very good decision about 3 or 4 years ago where I changed the name to Alpha Foodie, because if you just do Alpha Breakfast, that will restrict your website and your collaborations. You won't be able to do things for
Yeah.
dinner and lunch. Let's say a brand. So so you have to be more diverse. So that's why I changed the name, because I was thinking, thinking again, I'm thinking maybe I should just call it something more general. So I I'm not obsessed about adverts, but sometimes I get collaborations until now, like with people trying to get me to promote skincare or whatever, things that have nothing to do with food, and I always reject them, even though some of them I actually like, but it's not, my page is about food. So from the beginning, um, you decide on a niche and think ahead of time, like how what's the impact of this. So this is how the name was. It was Alpha Breakfast, then it was changed to Alpha Foodie. Yes, it to
Yeah.
diversify it a bit. Even though now I do a lot of DIYs, have nothing to do with like breakfast, like has to do with cleaning or things like
But
that.
it's in the kitchen, so it's
So
related to.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's how it
That's a good
started.
story. Engineers are the best. Well, here we'll say STEM people are the best, just because our audience is STEM. I also forgot to say this. Oh, 1 second. But thank you so much. I know it's 10 p.m. there in the UK, and you're joining us and staying up late, so we really, really appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. No problem.
And so I know you were from Lebanon and you moved to the UK for school, right?
Yeah, I moved to Canada first. I did my aerospace engineering in Canada, and then I came to Oxford to do my PhD, and I stayed. I got a job after that in Oxford, and I stayed for some time. Then I got a job at UCL in London, and I moved. And yeah, so I came back to Oxford now because of during the lockdown, all the sessions, everything's happening online, like via Zoom. So there's no like location dependent. So yeah, so I live in Oxford. I came back to Oxford just because I miss it and it's a good place, I think.
Was it a hard change to go from Lebanon to Canada and then to the UK?
Not really. I think my advice if is whenever possible travel as much as you can to different cultures, and if you can live in different places, just because it really broadens your vision and horizon, and you just like start to appreciate cultures more. And I don't know, I love it. I mean, I don't know where I'm gonna live next. It could be anywhere. I just think it was little change at the beginning, but I think change is great. If something isn't working, try to change about something about it, and like that includes location. I in the last, I think I moved to Oxford about 5 months ago. I wasn't really happy in London, especially during lockdown. It was just like a dead city, and I didn't have any garden or anything, and I was feeling miserable, and I was like, I need to change something. And like my mood completely changed when I came back to Oxford. It's just like the idea that just something isn't working, try to make a change, whatever it is. I think change is good, and that including moving countries. I mean, if I'm someone who's like, I love learning about culture and mixing with. I rarely have friends that are from Lebanon, to be honest. Most of my, not because by choice, I mean, I have some school friends from a long time ago, but I love the idea of having like mixing with different people, learning more about their cultures and stuff. I don't like to stick with the same group just because I like to learn. And yeah. Sorry, you asked me a question and then I
Well,
drift to
it's good.
something
I
else.
like the answer. um, so my other question was about doing your PhD. You had a lot of different projects that maybe not typically engineering students would do, like the neuroscience and cancer research. So you tried all these different things, um, but did any of them really stick?
Of course, they're all different projects, but they all say the same exact principles of fluid dynamics. So you get like in the for the brain research, I was doing modeling of blood flow circulation. That's the pipes, so your blood fluid dynamics to the brain, and the same thing with the cancer cells. We were looking at the kinetic energy of efficiency of drugs. So we do cancer. We inject some medication into these animals, rats, for the science, and so we try to see the efficiency, the kinetic metabolism, and that is like you're injecting a fluid and you're measuring the rate of change of different metabolites, and so that's still
Yeah.
engineering, right? And so and with aerospace is again the airflow and stuff. So there's still again fluid dynamics and CFD. It's kind of like, even though they're all different, but they kind of like they're all pipes in a way.
No, it makes sense.
But even in now, like in food, I really use a lot of the engineering principles.
Yeah.
Not exactly directly. I mean,
That was
but
actually my next question. So this is perfect. So I see a lot of your so mostly I look at Instagram for your page. Let me actually I'll tag it in the comments so everyone can check it. But I sometimes go on the blog too, and what I really noticed is that you kind of use the scientific method in all your projects and even your recipes. Like I remember the one ingredient, was it sweet potato or maybe potato pita? Right.
oh yes, yes,
You tried like starch and you tried all these different things and you made it vegan and you made it just vegetarian, not vegan. So how do you
yeah.
incorporate the scientific method into the work on Alpha?
Oh my God, a lot of it. Like for example, like there's a lot. For example, the cheese, I made the like cheese puffs. Like, okay, how do you incorporate? If you want something chewy, right? If you want some, let's say a cheese ball that you wanted it to be chewy, you have to think of what kind of flour will give you a chewy texture. And the one flour that will give you a chewy texture is something that has high starch, like tapioca, because you can use tapioca to make the pearls,
Mhm,
you know. So that is one aspect. Another aspect is in baking. If you wanted to make, let's say, soda bread, you cannot use baking, you want to use baking
mhm,
soda. But if you want to bake anything, you will use the chemistry here. So you have to have acid and base. So you have the baking soda, but you need an acid. So that's why when you're making like soda bread, you would add something citrus like lemon or buttermilk or yogurt, and that is the element. So that's a type of bread. You don't use baking powder, you use baking soda, and then you have the acid added in. You think of it that way. Like the other method is the spherification. When I did how to do the spherification method a few days ago, so you show using calcium lactate and to to drop the balls in and create the instant
mhm.
spheres that you see. Anyway, I think you
The
probably
both,
have missed it, but these
the
things
purple,
are
yeah.
yeah. So you show that if you drop the spheres in
Mhm,
water, they're not going to become spheres. They need a liquid that is a little heavier, little like
mhm,
viscous, so the ball cannot go straight under. It needs to be slowed down, and the only thing that will slow it down is oil. So that's why you need to dip them in oil unless they have a calcium element in there. So so you just think of that. But I mean, like another thing is that is very popular, like it's chocolate,
yeah,
how to make chocolate. And chocolate is something that is really difficult to to get the head around it if you're new to it, but it's so easy. I can show you the chocolate bean. Now this is weird, right?
we're
Yeah,
seeing this live.
that one. Sorry, because I'm doing some chocolate, like make your own chocolate. So you can have the bean and you open it and you have the little beans. But then how can you like actually people feel amazed by the fact that you can make chocolate from those beans, but the fact they don't know that those beans have like more than 50% butter or fat, and you need to roast them, ferment them, then roast them. They will release their oils, then you have to grind them, and grinding them will provide a smooth texture. And when you tell them white chocolate doesn't really have cacao and it might have cacao butter, they get like, really? And they're like, why don't I add liquid sweetener? That's another topic, because water and oil don't mix. And this is why you see the emulsifiers in the type of, like, you see what I mean. And this is why we use powdered sugar in any time when we're making chocolate, because if you use liquid has water. If you're making it at home, you're not adding emulsifiers or anything like that, so you wouldn't use liquid sweetener. I mean, you can, but it's gonna become a whole mess. And this is why, like, it's just exploring, telling them like you need emulsifiers, because emulsifiers would allow the two to mix together, just like when you make mayonnaise. So they, like, when you explain it to them, like 1 + 1 = 2. Now if we take 2 and we add 3, 5. So it's just more easier to understand, you know.
Especially when you put it in terms of like an equation. It's like this is for me. Food is like you have a recipe and you have the science, but then you can also be creative with it and experiment.
Exactly, 100%. Because when you start understanding what, it's really important to know what ingredients is needed, what for. Why I have to add yeast? Why do I have to add this? Like, it's very important to know why every element is added. Like sometimes, like people ask me, I want to make, I don't know, bread, but I don't. Can I make bread without yeast? I mean, okay, you make. It's not gonna, you know, rise or anything like that. Try to explain it to them from that angle, saying this is needed for this, this is needed for this, this is needed for that. Then they understand it. But then sometimes you say, okay, you add cinnamon to add flavor, for example, but you can say this is optional. But then I mean, some people will email me saying like, I don't have cinnamon. Can I add? Can I skip it? Like, sometimes just think about the recipe. Of course, you can skip it. You know, it doesn't matter. It's something, but some things you can't skip. Some things I try to get to my blog when I write a recipe, especially if it's involved like chocolate. I have been working for 2 months for this chocolate like guide, just to show everyone, because I have some chocolate recipes on my website, and it's a lot of visitors go there and they still struggle. So I decided to make bean to bar, like just detailed, like with a million pictures, just to make sure that it is like ABC, you know. um just so people understand. I try to say we add this because you needed to do this. Look, you can just mix the chocolate and put it in the mold, but it's not going to be spammy, snappy, um, or melts in your mouth nicely, because you need to what's the word, temper it. You need to temper chocolate. So then you have to explain to them. Then they're like, what is tempering? And you have to explain to them that cocoa butter has different states at different temperatures. And like, you know, beta 5 is the one where it allows you. And to get to beta 5, you have to increase the temperature, then reduce it to 28. So when you explain it to them like this and show them in the graph, this is the temperature you need, then they really realize the importance of having a thermometer during tempering chocolate. It's just, if you just tell them, okay, you have to do it this way and this way, that's it. I think it doesn't stick. But when you tell them we need these crystals at this state for this reason, and this is the graph of like the cocoa butter with the different temperatures, I think it sticks
Yeah,
more with them, you know. So it's always good idea to know why you're adding this and why that, and you know, just
it makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. So that is
Even
the
when I
point.
remember you put this chart once that was something about which flavors go well together, and I had never known why things go well together and things don't. And then you explained like the chemistry behind it, and it was so simple.
Oh yes, yes, there are lots of like, so the chemical profiles between different foods. That's why there are so foods like peanut butter and jam. They share a chemical profile together. So when you take an ingredient, you look at the chemical profiles of them. And let's say you have 3 ingredients, like you have list of ingredients, and you look, and any ingredient that has same profile as another ingredient, that means they really go well together. And that's why things like popular things like, now that I can't think of anything,
Yeah,
peanut butter and jam, or fish and chips, or like, I'm just saying, like, there are, the reason they go well together. Avocado and chocolate, they share a same chemical profile. So this is why, like some recipes are really good, because they share good profile together. And that's why, you know, papaya and lime, the reason they really are good, like if you have a papaya and you squeeze lime on it, it actually tastes a lot better, because if you don't have lime on it,
okay.
it's very bland. but if you put lime in it, because they share the same chemical profile, so
So
that's why,
cool. So cool. Um, so again, I just want to encourage everyone to ask your questions in the Q&A. If you want to remain anonymous, that's also an option on there. Daniela says, I watched this Science and Food Netflix show and they talked about making chocolate in detail. It's really cool, yeah.
Yeah.
So this next question is kind of not about food, but maybe as your experience as an international student. So especially right now, a lot of international students kind of feel stranded because they can't go home because of the pandemic. There's a lot of struggles there, economically and also emotionally missing their families. So if you have any advice for them from your time as a college student, even though there was no pandemic, thankfully, but any advice you would give them?
I think, I mean, with the fact that we have like Zoom, WhatsApp, like I think I would take a lot of advantage from that to be always connected with my family first. I know it's hard time, but like we all have to remember that it's hard for everyone. We are all in the same boat, and sooner or later we're all gonna be free and we're all gonna join our families. So in the meantime, just kind of take it, embrace it, and try to find, like, if you really have time, try to have a little blog or a hobby about a hobby or something. Now I go back to the blog, because you never know. Oh my god, like there are so many million ideas for like trying to do a side hustle that will become your little baby. Always think, okay, if you have time and you think you miss your family, you can't see them, try to fill this time with some hobby that is maybe your future baby. When I say your future baby, it is the little passive income that it will earn you money during your sleep. I swear, you should just be thinking like that. And like, when sometimes I go to TikTok, this is a simple example, and I see so many inspiring stories of people just selling random thing on Amazon, where like, and I was like, wow, it's like you read behind the thing and you think, oh, that's not really as hard as I thought it is. Like, you can make your own product and sell it on Amazon. You don't have to have any followers. What I'm saying is there are so many ways that you can learn a new skill. Oh my gosh, you have time, you're worried to see your parents in 6 months time, you're going to see them, but you're going to see them maybe with a little side hustle that will be for good with you. So I would say, don't, I mean, I'm not talking about myself, there are worse cases. I haven't seen my parents for 2 years, but I mean, I can't wait to see them. But I'm sure there are much worse situations. Like, there are people who have their parents passed away and they haven't even managed to say goodbye to them during the pandemic. I always say it could be worse, but maybe that's not the best. I say just keep an open mind and just fill your time with learning new things, and like invest in a little, something you enjoy but also might make you income in the future. I always like the idea of multi-source income, just because if one goes down, then and as a student, when I was a student, I highly encourage having a part-time job for one reason, is because when I used to feel when I had a part-time job, it forces me to finish deadlines, because I think, oh, I have to waste 6 hours tomorrow at work, so I have to finish this essay or something like this. Seriously. And because if I don't have work at all, I say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. But I feel when you have a part-time job or something like this, it's kind of like pressures me to, it makes me more organized. And yeah, I think invest in a little project. And remember, it's hard. It's sooner or later we're all gonna be united and we're all gonna be travel again. But embrace the moment and learn new things.
Amazing
That's what I
answer.
say. I'm sorry, it was a long answer and I don't know
I
if I
mean, I'm an
answered.
international student, so I appreciate that a lot. Yes, and I also can relate to that because I feel like if you have, let's say you have one class that you're doing, you can do your work anytime, but the more you have to do, in like a set deadline, then the more you have to organize your schedule, and you feel early.
Yeah, exactly. You start thinking, oh my God, tomorrow I have, like, that's why you're like, you feel pressure to do it. And I'm the type of person who just like works better with deadlines, unfortunately. But
Me too.
yeah.
Okay, this is another question also about your experience um, in engineering. Were there any? Okay, so the name of the conference is "Women in STEM Breaking the Barriers," right? So were there any barriers that you faced um, as a result of your gender or your status as an international student, or just something based on where you were in your environment or your identity?
I think, I don't know. This is a very difficult question, especially maybe because this was like, we're talking 8 years ago, right? I would say uh, yes and no. For example, when I get admission to Oxford, I have zero scholarships when I get the admission letter. And I think Oxford asked for the beginning for like, you have to show that you have $100,000 in the bank account or something like this. And I had like $120. And that is how much I have. But they needed $100,000 for like to prove that you can support this. And when I was reaching for organizations as a Lebanese citizen to get a scholarship, even though I had very high grades and blah blah blah, it was almost impossible to get anything based on a Lebanese nationality. But and also I applied as a Canadian national because I have a Canadian citizenship. And I luckily managed to get some scholarships from that. But when I came to Oxford, I didn't have the full funding. So I struggled in the first couple months, but then when they show my performance, I got scholarships from Oxford and the college itself. But that was the time where I felt being a Lebanese citizen wasn't really helping me in that department, because I saw Canada helped, but Canada helped with as much as they can. Actually, the scholarship I got from Canada was, I think, Women in Engineering and Science. That was it. It was called like that. It was really cool award, and I love that award so much. But because obviously the Canadian dollars back then was like, I think each $2 Canadian for £1. So doesn't like, it wasn't a massive award. So that's why I needed to supplement it. And I was lucky to have like scholarships from Oxford afterwards, because otherwise I wouldn't have managed to do this. But yeah, that was the time. But it was funny because the award was Women in Engineering and Science. That was the award. It still exists in Canada. So if you have a Canadian citizenship, you can look it up, because they really encourage women in science and engineering. I know it sounds very sexist, but I kind of like it because I feel
That
women should have more support.
I think there are even more now. Just don't know if this is really right, but I feel like there are more scholarships now, or they're trying to push forward to get more representation in higher.
Yeah, agreed. Because the number percentages of women in engineering when I was in Canada is very little. I mean, my class in Canada, we were 43 and we are two women and 41. Yeah, that was my year. And even in Oxford, in my lab, there was like, I think 3 girls and like 25 guys. I think women in engineering are very small numbers. Maybe, hopefully
I
now
think
it's
it's
changing,
better in
but
engineering. It's still very bad in like pure math, pure sciences. Um, I think I saw a statistic last year, so I can't. I don't want to say it just in case I'm wrong, but I think it is getting better for engineering. Also, I have a lot of questions, but
that's
I need to
cool.
stop being selfish because there are a couple in the Q&A. So Daniela asks, "What's a food that you'd never get tired of?"
Oh my God. Um, that is a hard question because I try so many. I think I would say, if she wants me to pick one type of cuisine, I was okay. If I say Mediterranean cuisine, that sounds very subjective, because especially people when they ask me what's your favorite cuisine, if I say Mediterranean, it's little biased, because if you grew up in a country, obviously that will be the favorite
Yeah.
food because you grew up eating that. But if I pick a veggie, probably I'd say eggplant. I love eggplant. Sorry,
Sorry, was
aubergine.
not expecting that.
but but because every no, every week I do on my Instagram, or a few, 3 4 different countries from around the world, trying different recipes, and oh my god, I feel amazed at how amazing some of these recipes are. Like, like, this is why it's hard for me to pick one. I love Mexican food so much, but I feel I should stop making Mexican recipes because all the other countries are like, why you always do Mexico?
Um, the next question is, do
But
you
yeah,
ever feel pressure to produce content for your blog?
never, 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 never. Not for my blog because, okay, this is why, guys, I swear,
Wait, can I add something to the
for the
question?
blog,
So not just the
you
blog,
don't,
also the Instagram page. Okay.
yeah, I'll tell you the difference. Oh my gosh. So the blog, remember, okay, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I have an advert on Instagram, right? An advert, that means a client paid me some money to post on Instagram. That's when I feel slightly pressured that, like, oh, please get some likes. I like the post to do little bit well, although the payment agreed on has nothing to do with likes. So usually you agree with the client saying, I'm going to charge you this amount of money. I don't care if it gets 0 likes or no likes, but because by nature, people, when they see adverts, they get switched off. So it's not natural for ads to do bad or worse than the regular post. But it's the only time where I feel a little bit stressed, tiny bit, saying, oh, I have an advert today. But normally, I only agree to work with brands that I actually like. And this is why I have a few partnerships that are long term, where I signed a 12-month contract. So, I mean, I use eggs, so I would partner with an egg brand, and that's actually one brand. I use the blender all the time, so I partner with the blender because I use it all the time anyway. So it's not like so spammy because I'm using it to make a recipe. That's the idea. But this is what I need you to know something is the reason why I love the blog, because it doesn't matter you have followers or no followers. You post on the blog, who cares? It's for Google. It's for the people out there. Who cares? It gets likes, no likes. Who cares? That's why I say the blog is so much less pressure. But if I post a picture on Instagram and no likes, I mean, these days I really don't care because I know, like, I'm just trying to be as useful as possible. If people don't like it, because the reason why that is because I don't rely on Instagram heavily for income. The Instagram income is negligible compared, even though I have 1 million followers, the income there is negligible compared to the income that comes from the website. And this is why I say to you guys, do, like, if you have some hobby or something, start a blog, because it is like people who have been doing monetization of their blogs 7 8 years ago, their income per day at least is 25 30,000 pounds, $30,000 a day, some of them even 100,000. So remember, the website money goes with the traffic, mainly Google traffic. And this is why I say it's really like, if you started longer, it scales up. So each year, the more content you have, the more you're gonna earn money. But obviously, it shouldn't be the only motivation. But yeah, but that's why I say, when I put, I never feel pressure, because why? Google doesn't care. I mean, Google loves you to to produce more and more, but I never feel like, oh, I have to post this today on Google. Not really. I mean, I just love experimenting, and I just try and post it because, and Google, remember, don't ever think, oh, it has to be perfect. No, nothing has to be perfect. Google loves you to come back to old content and update it. This is why don't panic thinking, oh, this is not perfect. I didn't perfect this. I need this. Just send it out there. And then you can update it a few months later, next year, it doesn't matter. Google content never dies. It doesn't die. Instagram content, if you post some picture today or video, it's gonna maybe work for a few hours. Next day, maybe 2 days, 3 days, but Google is there to live there. That's why I say, like, invest in something that you think belongs to you. Instagram could switch off any day, you know? So to answer the question is, I don't feel pressure to post on my blog. On Instagram, I used to feel the pressure before. Now I don't really care much. I haven't posted in like 6, 7 days. Maybe I'm not the most organized person in the planet, but I'm very active on stories because I love engaging with the follower. I really enjoy it, and I find it little addiction, but I really enjoy it because it's so insightful. Like sometimes I tell them, guys, this is not working. What shall I do? They give me amazing ideas. So from that sense, these ideas, I use them for my blog, which is gonna provide value for other users that come from Google. For example, I did today the cheese balls from Brazil, and I asked the Brazilians, what would you eat them with? Do you know, I got like 300 or 400 answers. What would they eat them with? I swear, I could just put those on my blog saying, oh, you can eat this with this. I mean, most of them are repetitive, but the idea is like the community is amazing, and this is really useful information. So I say, if the blog or anything is going to give you pressure or anxiety, don't do it. That's why I say pick something you enjoy. And the most important thing is try to care less about what people think. Because when you care less about what people think, then, I mean, obviously, again, provide a value. If you know you're doing your best at something, and there will always be people who are going to get angry or upset. You can't please everyone, but do your best, and then
Like when they say it's
whatever,
not traditional, or
you
this
know.
isn't how my family does it. When you do like the specific cuisines, and I know that sometimes you make like a twist or something that's not supposed to be. Yeah.
Guess
Some
what?
people reply saying, "Oh, this isn't traditional," or "This isn't how I would make it." But I think sorry,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
I would take these as with gracefully,
Yeah.
just because it's their culture. So I think I don't like the idea of offending anybody, especially with food. But I think with Italy, for example, it was very difficult for me because I did the dish like 5 times, and I have 5 different recipes on my hard drive. I even have to order 4 hard drives yesterday because I have no space. Because, like, okay, I cut it like vertically, and they said no, in Italy we do it like this, and I did it like this, and then I did it with the flour, and then, oh my god, no, you don't do it with the flour. It's the same Italians. And then I discovered that in Italy itself, north of Italy cooks Parmigiano different than in south of Italy. And so there was a mixture of the south and north conflicting between, and then it was just driving me mad because in Italy itself there's no same recipe, and but then I didn't give up exactly, but I will write that on the blog saying, different regions in Italy cook it differently. You can make it as a circle, you can cover it with the thing, and you can make like just for the users. But it's really fun to understand where things from, and to see, like, some countries get offended very quickly, some countries really love
Yeah.
when you do their country. It's really enjoyable. But sometimes you get trolls where people saying, okay, why don't you just stick to Lebanese food? Why you're doing all the I
Yeah.
enjoy doing the other people food. Doesn't, like,
Less
it's more fun, I
restrictions, and then
think.
you also have a bigger audience. Like if you're marketing your page, right? That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
actually my
yeah,
next
yeah.
question. So you talked a lot about, this is maybe our last one, but if people have questions, definitely add them to the Q&A. Hopefully we'll have time for them. You talked a lot about how to market your product or your blog or your let's say if it's an Instagram page, how to kind of broaden your audience, right? So what are some other ways that you do that?
Easy. So there are many,
Mhm.
Pinterest. So let's say you have a blog, Pinterest. Okay, so after this is how it goes. You go, Google is number one. When I say Google, is when you write your blog post, make sure it's Google friendly, where you use, like, you write the recipe nicely, like, the ingredient list. This is the numbers you want. Just not put you need potatoes, tomatoes. You just say how much tomatoes and how much potatoes. So this is for Google. Now for Pinterest, Pinterest drives traffic to your website because in Pinterest doesn't care about potatoes and tomatoes. Pinterest cares about beautiful pictures. So you would make something looking so pretty. So you see what I mean? Google doesn't care about pretty. So Google, you see some recipes on first page and you open them and you're like, what? Like, the pictures don't look appealing, but because the information is important, that's what Google cares about. But Pinterest, if you put an ugly picture, nobody's going to click on it. So you would have a nice picture because you think, okay, I'm going to put this on Pinterest. Then people are going to click on it, and then that takes them to your website. More visitors, more money. And remember, when I say more money, people who visit your website don't have to click on any ad at all for you to get paid. By simply seeing the ads on the page, you get paid. Obviously, if they click, you get paid a lot more, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, um, the point is like it is a source. And then you have, so this is Pinterest is number two, and then you get like Facebook. I don't really rely too much on Facebook, just I find it headache to I mean, I'm kind of a one-man band. I mean, I have some helpers, but they're remotely, and we can't do everything we have to do. There's Facebook, and there is the other social media. So TikTok, oh my God, TikTok, of course, because TikTok is the most random social media here. When I say the most random is you sometimes never know when something goes 20 million views, and you work so hard on so many other things that gets no views. So TikTok is the most random, but I've seen so many businesses so flourish from TikTok. So if you have, let's say you have a random product, right? Go to TikTok. Let's say you want to sell, I don't know, like some here, you want to sell this. I'm just saying an example. You go to TikTok and make the weirdest video that shows this, not this, this wouldn't sell, but you know what I mean. And then everybody's like, oh my God, where did you get that from? And that will generate all the sales you want. I've seen so many websites, like so many videos on TikTok, where somebody linked to an Amazon product, and the product has gone like finished because of that post. So I'm saying is, and that will generate traffic to your website as well. I think TikTok generates more traffic than Instagram. And then you have Instagram. So these are the things that you will actively use. They are also Twitter, not so much. Twitter is more about voicing your opinion, so it doesn't really, unless your blog is more about opinions. But remember, opinions don't really make money in blogging world. All I'm saying is, okay, they matter, but not so much, because I think people are searching for how to do this, why to do this, what, where is this, not like to listen to like somebody who they don't know who they are. So,
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
but we're here to
Yeah.
listen, so it's okay. Um, I was gonna talk about how I guess all these different platforms, they have different algorithms, and you just kind of have to get on top of that or win the.
But no, but it's easy, because that's when you are doing your piece of writing of something, whatever project, whatever blog you're talking about, you always think, okay, I'm writing about this, I'm going to take a picture of this, but keep in mind, let's make a pretty picture, like vertical, for Pinterest. And when you if you're doing illustration for a paint, or like some sewing or something, you say, okay, let's make a quick video for TikTok. But with the same camera, you rotate the video, and then the video will be worked for YouTube, because now YouTube is bringing their own TikTok, because YouTube now they have the, what you call it,
Oh yeah,
shorts. Shorts, because YouTube has, so as TikTok competition, they introduced shorts, and now, I mean, I'm not really applying it that much because I'm too busy doing DIYs. But shorts are like, when a company tries to promote a new product, they would push everybody
yeah,
up. Some people grew like so highly on YouTube now because of the shorts. They call them shorts. So what you do is you upload to YouTube a vertical video, and you use the hashtag shorts, and the video has to be less than a minute or so. But as long as you use the hashtag shorts, YouTube promotes your video. So that is, another source. But the way is like, as I said, when you're making the article, you write it. First, you write it usefully for Google, because you think, okay, I want this article to be very useful for Google, for users, for readers to understand that I'm not just randomly wasted 2 minutes of my time. And then that's good. Then you say, okay, let's add a few pictures. but we need a pretty, really nice looking picture, artistic. And how do you know what is a good picture? You go to Pinterest. Let's say you're writing about pencils. I'm just giving you an example. You go to Pinterest and you look pencils, and you can see you're not copying, you're getting inspiration. So you say, oh, I like this. I will make something like this, but with my own style. I mean, everybody copies, but you just add your own style to it. And this way, like, okay. And then, and because if you're gonna, like, I think Instagram and TikTok and YouTube are more about visuals. You have to, whatever you're doing or writing about, it would be nice to have a little video. But for example, if you're writing how to save money, I think that will be a little bit hard unless you can make a creative way to make a video of how to save money. But you see what I
Yeah.
mean. But you already plan these in your head in advance, saying, okay, I'll take a vertical video. I have like, but it's the same video. You've rotated, and you remember to take a picture and take the video and write all the useful information. And anything fails, let's say you forget to do this, or something doesn't work as you expected it, you write that as the special notes. So that's when you write the notes, and then people find notes are very useful because it will save you from wasting an ingredients and a whole recipe,
Yeah.
for example.
Okay, it seems like we are out of time. I
Cool.
just want to say thank you so much. This was a really, really fun conversation. I'm a big fan, so I'm, a bit.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and it was nice to chat.
Thank you. I know it's really late, so I appreciate it
Thank
even
you.
more from across the world.
No worries. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everyone.
We're having tea
Bye bye.
time right now, so feel free to join in. There are different sessions that you can join.
Thank you. That's great. Yes. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.